Before we get into the CRUD functionality of creating, updating, deleting, or whatever it is, I wanted to do some refactors and I wanted to separate our components into actual components for a lot of this stuff, because what's going to happen is that once we get into the CRUD, I just want to just plop everything into a pre-designed component and then add our functionality for the CRUD stuff that we're going to be doing. One of the first things that I want to do is I was taking a look at this yesterday on a different computer, and the thing that's been bothering me about it is if we have images with different sizes, then this size will completely throw off everything else. It will change whatever that image is here. You know, you've seen it before when we had the train. The train was so tall that it would push everything down. So I want to refactor this and deal with that. And then I also want to make these into components as well, because these are actually going to be the exact same design anywhere else we're displaying our posts, because they have everything the same. The pictures up here, title, the text, the user, and the minutes read. The other thing about it too is that some of these posts have really long titles. Some of them have really long titles and some of them have really long text. Now, as you can imagine, when we get into using TinyMCE to create our posts, these could be potentially much longer. And we just really want a small snippet of whatever it is in order to be able to just get an idea of what it is. We can click into it and go read the full article. Why don't we go ahead and start with dealing with this featured post? Our featured post, we've already created a component for, so I'm just going to go directly to that. And what I am going to do is I'm going to, well, first see if I can comment all this out, because we're going to be grabbing some stuff from here. We can use it as a reference. So I'll do a div, open that up, and then we're going to add a class name here. Again, some of this stuff we can use, so I'm just going to grab this and I'm going to paste it up here and take out what we don't need. Well, we're going to be using flex. We don't need the height here. We can do flex all. E.g. white can stay the same, rounded. We don't actually need overflow hidden. And we can keep the shadow large. So how we're going to do our height is we're going to set the height to be a custom size. And we'll say that that for now will be 600 pixels. We'll see how this works out. And if we need to change it, we can. We'll set a max height with another custom value, and that'll be 700 pixels. And then on medium sizes, we're going to change that now to a flex row. So we're just kind of cleaning this out to make this work a little bit better for us. I'm going to add another div. The class name will actually be height 2/3. And on medium, we're going to do the width of 2/3. And on medium also, we're going to say the height will now be full. This is going to be where the picture is. When the screen is smaller, then the picture is going to be smaller and it's only going to be a certain height, because now the picture will be on top of all the text, kind of like the other components are, the other images. But when we open it up, we want that big picture on the left with the text on the right. So that's what this is doing. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to grab that link that we have, which doesn't actually go anywhere just yet, but I'll go ahead and paste that here. For our image, for the link, we don't actually need this width full anymore. We don't need the medium. We can just keep it at the rounded, transition duration, and that other stuff in there. And the image itself can stay the same. So now that we have that, we'll create another div, open that up, class. So now the rest of what we're going to be doing is the stuff from in here. So it's going to be the title, the body, and all that stuff in there. Let's do some classes on here. We'll say flex, flex call, justify between, e.g. white, rounded, bottom, shadow, large, and on medium sizes, it's going to be a width of 1/3. And on medium, we are also going to do rounded for the top. We'll have a div in here, and now we're going to get the class name, this stuff in here. Now we can just take it from here. So let's see what else we need in here. Now for the getting started, we don't need to make that width full anymore unless we have to, then we'll figure that out later. But the rest of it can stay the same. Font bold, again, this doesn't really need to be full, but if we need to, then we'll do that. And the class name will be text gray font serif. That's fine for that. Then we'll come over here and we'll add another div. Now this div is going to be for the user info, right? The info and the time read. On the classes for this, I'm just going to do flex, item center, justify between because we do want them separate. And I'll do a padding of 6. Now we can also just go ahead and grab this stuff. Some of it is similar, but some of it is very different because what I didn't realize was that there were boxes separating the title from the user info and the stuff that's at the bottom. We're just really just cleaning that up. We have the item center, so let's take from here. That's fine. This is now for the image. This is fine. I don't think we need this as a class. And in fact, I'm also going to get rid of the content because that's just, we're not using it. If we end up doing it, then I'll put it back, but really we don't need it. Text gray, underline, and that should be good. Let's go and see what we have. So I did make that a bit longer to account for some longer images, but the nice thing is now they're all the same size. Even if we shrink the screen a bit, you can see now that we have that effect and that looks a lot better. At least for me, it looks a lot better. And as I said, if we need to change it, we will. It looks like we might, but I actually haven't changed any of these yet either. We'll just worry about that when we do those. Let's go ahead and clear this out of what we changed. As I said, I'll keep working with it, but if we find that we are having too much of an issue, then we'll adjust it a little bit more. But I do like the way that the image is bigger and that it's all the same. Let's take a look at what we can do next. Now, something that we have that we can sort of harness is the ability to change how much text is here. And like I said before, if we're using TinyMCE, this post could potentially come all the way down here. And we don't really want that, or there'll be some type of overflow or whatever. We're not really accounting for overflow anymore. We've removed that. What I want to do is I want to create a utility that will allow us to change the length of text that we have here, the length of text that we have here, and have it be useful and used on all of these, where you can also change how much text you want to see and how much text you don't want to see. What we can do is use React to create a utility and do that. As an example, let's come down to the title. Let's say we wanted to limit how much of the string we can see. So here we can do substring, and this is just JavaScript. We can say substring from 0 to, let's say, 10 characters. When we do that, then we can do also add an ellipses. Those are single quotations, not backticks. And we can just add the ellipses in there like that. We'll go ahead and do that. We'll save that and we'll just see what that does for our string, right? It's given us 10 characters and then it has added the ellipses to the end of that. That's something that we can use and leverage all throughout these pages and all throughout these posts. How can we do that? Well, we'll create a utility. So let's go ahead and do that. What I am going to do is I am just going to grab this whole thing just so we can use it as a reference. And then I am going to come over to our JavaScript folder. And there is a lib folder for different utilities and things like that. Now there is one here, but what I've been doing is if I'm doing a folder within a folder like this, I really don't want to touch the default ones. It will allow us to go and check. And if we're not sure about something, it gives us some sort of a reference point for things. So I really don't like to do that. I'm going to create another folder and I'm going to call it custom utils.tsx. Or TS, it's not going to be TypeScript. I'm going to do that. And for now, I'm just going to paste in that line that I copied just so that I can have that here. What we want to do is we want to export const, and we're going to name it format. We'll call it format text. And then we're going to say that that equals a function. Now, by looking at what it is that we're going to be using this for, what are the things that we're going to need? Well, first we're going to need to know what it is that we're formatting. So I am going to create a variable up here. I'm going to call it an item, and the item is going to be of type string. The other part of this is we need a value, but we're not really going to know the value because we want to use this on different lengths of string. What we can do is type in value, and we'll make that a number. Everywhere where we use this utility function, we can inject whatever value we have. Now at that point, then we can return. And then what are we going to return? We are going to return, I'll grab this. We're going to return, first of all, the item, and then we're going to return this in here, this JavaScript function. Instead of hard coding it like we have here, now we can use 0 because that's where it's going to start, and that can stay the same. And the value will be the other part of what we inject. And I need a... Now we were looking at the featured post. Let's come up here and use that new function. And this is where we were using that function. So now we can change this to format text, grab that variable. And as you can see, NeoVim wants to import it here. We'll go ahead and import it, put some parentheses, and now we can put post title because that will be our item. And then the value is going to be 10. That's what we wanted to put for here. As you can see, it's been imported up top here, and we should be good. It should be exactly the same from what we just looked at, and it is. You refresh it, and that title is still the same. If we inspect, we don't have any errors, and we're good to go. Because this is the featured post, I genuinely don't want to do this for the title. I don't mind it being longer. We'll go ahead and take that off of that. I don't mind the title being longer, but what we can do is now do it on the post body. And we're passing in, I don't know, let's say 25. And now there are only 25 characters allowed up here. But again, as I said, this is the featured post and I don't want to do that. I don't want it to be too long. I don't want it to be too short. I just want it to be just right. So for here, I am going to put 300 because I think that that's a good enough amount of characters to show. And that's something that we can work with. And as you can see, it did cut off at 300. If you want to do more, you can do more. It's going to depend on what you want to do. You could also set this up so that the ellipses show up only if the characters are above or below. Meaning if we had a full post here and it was less than 300 characters, you really don't want to see the ellipses. You don't need it. You can do some conditional like that. I didn't bother. I think this is good enough for what we're doing. We can also go ahead and do that as well on these other posts. Let's go to where these posts are being shown and do that for all of these. Now we know that those are a component as well, and they are in our welcome post. I am going to do the first one, and then I am going to pause the video so that you don't have to watch me do the rest of them, and we'll take it from there. So this is the image, this is the getting started, and this is the title. Again, we'll bring in our format text. I'm going to do, let's say 20. I think 20 will be good. But let's make sure it's imported up top, and it was, and that's good. Let's also do it for the body. And for the body, I think I want to put, we'll start with 100 and see where that goes. This is the one that we just did. And as you can see, it has the ellipses and everything on it. This little quirk about having periods or whatever, I think it's fine. I'm not really going to get too crazy about it. But as you can see, the title is now shortened and the body is shortened. And now we'll be able to have pretty much more cohesive experience on this page if we do that for everything. I'm going to go ahead manually do the rest of them on this page, and then I'll come back. Hey, look at that. Now that looks a lot more cohesive and a lot more able to move around now. Again, with these ones that are different sizes, you can change them up and add the sizing. We're still going to have this dinky little thing here, but I've just learned to live with this one in particular. And so if you want to tackle it, you're more than welcome to do so. That leaves us in a really good spot because now we can use these unified components and put them in other parts of the app. And that's exactly the kind of thing that we'll be doing too. Let's go ahead and create this because then we can use it in other parts of the app. But this one, I'm going to leave this way because it is designed differently. What I do want to do is take these and now make them into components so that we can reuse them. And we're going to use the exact same components even for these because these are the same thing. The only thing that makes them different is the sizing of them, which we're handling with our grids and our flex boxes and stuff like that. But the pictures are already dynamic. Let's go ahead and create the component for this. Our welcome posts are the ones that we're going to be needing. So I'm going to go up top here to the first one and see where we can start taking this from. This is the post one. I am just going to grab that whole thing. And I am going to create a custom component here. I'm going to create one called description because this is the one that's going to have our description. When we take a look at the post, we'll see that those don't have it. They just have the title. So this one I'm going to be description card TSX. And for now, I'll just paste all this in. Now, the things that we can initially bring in is the link because that's coming from inertia.js. We can bring in our format text function that we just created a little while ago. That should be it for that. So this is actually going to be one post for now. Let's create some props for it. I'm going to call it description card props. Because we're going to make this pretty generic, I am going to call this one item. And the item is going to be of type post. We don't need to create it as an array because this is going to be for one post. Let me import that. And then we'll come down here and we'll pass it. Which means that now everywhere here, well, before I get ahead of myself, we're going to come back to this welcome post prop. First, let's put description post so that we can bring it in. Description card. And we're going to be passing in the item. If we take a look, what are we actually doing this? How are we doing? Instead of looping over it because they are different designs, we're not actually looping over them. So what's happening is we're bringing in the posts in the array of posts. So here we can say posts, and this will be one. And now we can just leave that as that. We don't have to do anything else. We're pulling in one of those posts from that array. And now what that means is it makes the item singular instead of an array, which means that in our description card, we have that item singularly coming in. And now we can now change this item and we don't have to have these in here. We can change this to item anywhere where we have item. There's one for the image. Okay, so let's go and see if we can see this first image the same. It has changed nothing about this, which is exactly what we wanted because this is what we want to reuse and now we can reuse them on all of them. Now we can come back to the welcome posts and add that accordingly. This is fine here. I'm going to take this one. Paste it here. Now this will be the second one. Now that has significantly reduced our stuff from here. And now we can also get rid of these because we're not pulling them in here anymore. And that should be good. Let's take a look. Let's go ahead and refresh this just to be sure. And then if you take a look, yeah, those are two different ones. That's fine. Fine. Our sizes are still the same, the way that they're supposed to be. So we have fully componentized this page, and that's a great thing. Everything has been done on here. Let's go over to the posts and take a look, because as you can see, these are going to be different. We have everything in here and we don't really need all that stuff in here. Not only that, we also have this navigation in here that I do want to take out because my post is going to have the exact same layout. The create and updates are also going to have the same layout. That's something that we can do. Before we do anything, I want to do is I want to create a layout file, and that layout file is going to house all the little bits and pieces that we have, and then we can componentize this, and then we can componentize that. And again, I didn't make any pagination on here, so this is just a long list of posts. At any rate, this is something that we can do. So let's go ahead and take a look at what it takes to create the layout file in React. Now, to understand how these layouts work, we can actually just go ahead and look at what's here before us. You can see we have the app layout, and this is the app layout for everything in here. We have breadcrumbs, we have React Node coming from React, so that's pretty important. There's an interface, which is just a different kind of type. Side note, there's been a big debate about types and interfaces. I have decided to use types and to use interfaces if I find that the type isn't enough to handle whatever it is. Let me know in below. I'm really curious to see this. Do you use a type or do you use an interface? And let me know the reasons for either, because I can't seem to get a solid answer on it. I didn't even realize this could be a debate, but apparently it is. So I'm curious to see where you guys land on this. Anyway, bygones, I'm not going to worry about it. I am going to copy this file so that we have whatever we need in there. Now, this file has something called children, and I believe that that's a React thing where basically you have some sort of div in here or some sort of outer thing. And in this case, it's coming from the app sidebar layout, which is just another layout file. It's like a layout within layouts within layouts. And I'm not going to do all that. I just need one layout. This, which is going to be the file that we create. This also allows you to inject breadcrumbs in it, which are those little things that you click. If you have a page that's going to multiple pages, you can have a list of those pages so you can go back and forth to all of them. That's what breadcrumbs are, and we don't really need that, so I'm not going to use that. And honestly, I don't really use that often because I just haven't really found a good use case for them. The other thing that you can inject in here are the props, which is something that we're going to be doing too. Any props that you have that you want to inject, you can inject it through here. And then you see this is where our children are being displayed. It is surrounded by another element, and everything that you want to be displayed on that page that's not included in this template will be injected into this page. So if you've used Vue before, it's kind of like using slots and templates. That's the same idea of what's going on here. So I'm going to take this file and I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to create a post layout. And I can get rid of this, keep the React node, get rid of this, and this will be post layout props. From here, we can get rid of these breadcrumbs. As I said, we're not going to be using it. And then this, we can just make a div, really, really basic. We're not going to get more complicated unless we have our props, we have our children. Congratulations, we now have a layout file. That's all it is. Let's go to our post page. We only have one for now. We're going to go to the index and we're going to use that new layout. Here I'm going to say post layout. Make sure to import that. And it was up there. Copy that. Come down here. Close it off. And now nothing should really have changed because we haven't actually changed anything yet. As you can see, it is the exact same. We're just going to basically work from top to bottom, which is just going to be the nav. We'll deal with these posts after that. But let's go ahead and extract this into its own component, because basically wherever I put this navigation on whichever page is, if I need to make a change, if I want to make some kind of change, I want it to come from one specific place. I don't want to have to go to every page to find it to make those changes. And I might forget one, and then one looks like this instead of how I need to do it. Let's go ahead and extract this into its own component, and then we'll take it from there. Now, because we already have a folder for this, I'm going to close these. We have a custom folder here and we already have a footer here, so I can just go ahead and make a navigation. Let's go to our index and let's find that navigation, which is right here. And we shouldn't have any props or anything to put in here, but now we can take this and put it in that navigation component that we just made. Don't have any errors, good to go. It's gone from here. And we can do one of two things. As I said, I want it to be something where if I need to make a change to it, that I can make it in one place and not every place, which is why I don't actually want to put it in this index page, because when we put it on the edit or we put it on the create, then we'll have to add that everywhere. Instead of that, I'm just going to go back to our layout and I'm going to add it here. Refresh. And now you can see we have our navigation separate, didn't break anything, and we can actually fix these. I want this to go back to the welcome view. These I want to be cut off based on authentication, just like we had on the welcome view. This should be an actual button. This looks like 1997. We're going to do the navigation first. This is where I want that little ghost thing to send us back to that welcome view. Wayfinder, we call it home. It's the route for it. And let's make sure to import it. This is going to the dashboard, but I don't want to touch this one yet because we're not authenticated and that will throw up a nasty error. Why don't we go ahead and make it so that we don't have to worry about that. In our welcome view, I'll just grab it from here. We have the auth user coming in from inertia. Import all the things. And now we can configure it how we want to configure it. If we come down here, the main two that we have are dashboard and my post. Those are the ones specifically for authenticated users. I want to go ahead and make a conditional. We're going to say if there's an auth user, again, React working the way React does, you need two ampersands next to each other. And this is basically, instead of saying, if not this, then this. Doing it this way will just allow you to say, if there's this, then go ahead and do this. And that's all. There's no either or. And that's what we want for that navigation. So we want this dashboard and my posts to be within this. Now, again, there are two sets of divs. So we do need fragment. We need a fragment, an empty fragment. Or we could put a div here too, but I don't really want to mess with the layout for this. Paste that in. Now we have dashboard and we can do it without fear of needing to be authenticated for this. Since we have this route already, go ahead and add it. And for the route, will just be dashboard. That one's done. We have nowhere to send my posts to yet. And then we have posts. Which doesn't really matter on this page because we'll be on this page. We'll still make a link to it because we are going to use Wayfinder to highlight which page we're on at any given time. So this will be post or index. Not from the controller, not from that stuff. We want it from that because it is a named route. Now this button because I do want to use from the shad library. And also I do need to put on here hover because it doesn't do the cursor. This button does not need to have a background of gray. And we can put the variant, which is outline. Much better. Now, the last thing that I want to do is I want to create a component for these and have this set up so that we don't have to worry about this one, and so that we can have this set up and ready to go as well. This is our navigation that's done. I'm going to go ahead and close these out for right now. We have our post, we have our index. I also want to put a head in here. I kind of forgot to do that. We'll add a head, and the title will just equal post. Let's import that, and that is coming from inertia.js. For these posts, as you can see, we are looping over them here, and that's fine. But what I want to do is I want to create a component for these. I'm going to go ahead and grab this from here. And then I want to come over here and I want to create a new component. And as you can see, we have the description card here, and here I am going to create one called simple card. Go ahead and paste that in for now. Let's go ahead and add it to the, I don't need these layouts anymore. Go here, I can do simple card. Simple card, because it's already imported. Now we can get rid of this. We're not going to need it. We're not going to need this here, but we are going to need it. We'll figure it out. Simple card. We need to pass in the post, and we need to pass in the key because it is in an array. We're looping over it. Now we haven't addressed the props in our simple card yet, so we're going to go do that. We can actually just go ahead and grab it from the description card because it's pretty much identical. We're not going to need a format text. So now we can get rid of this. And yes, we are. We're going to need the auth in here. Well, let's take a look and see what we have. This will now be item. We'll import our button. And I'm going to change this because now that we have the link to post, we can do that here. And we don't have this going anywhere yet. So let's just make sure we're using everything up there. Come down here. See if we have any errors. We shouldn't. So let's see and make sure that we did that okay. So again, we have the same one. No errors. And now we can make just changes to this. Let's go ahead and do that. We have trending, we have auth user, those are the buttons. And let's see where we're actually displaying that, which is here. We also have the format text, which we can use, but go ahead, make sure that's imported. We'll say item title, let's say 25. Okay, maybe 20. We'll just poke around this one a little bit just to see what looks better. All of them are the same length, same size. Now all of our posts pretty much look alike. We should probably add the rest of the post information in here. Now, where did I do that before? I believe I did it in the featured post. I'm just going to paste that in and make changes accordingly. Item image. Item title, and then we'll grab the classes here and add them here. Okay, so that's given us our image, and we don't really have any place to put this yet, but we already have very basic information in here, so that works out just fine for me. If you're enjoying the content, please go ahead and click that like button, as it really does help out the channel. Here's a video YouTube thinks you'll like, and here's a playlist to follow along. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.